What's up, everybody? I'm back for episode 2 of The Tourist. We're going to try to make it more of a review this time. Last time I was kind of made it more of a recap, I feel like. Went over like every detail. This time we're going to try to do details here and there, not as in depth, just more of a like overview. To see if we can make it a little bit shorter, make it a little bit tighter. If you like the recap version better, let me know in the comments. I don't know. It might be better, it might be more fun, it might be more interesting, might not be. Let me know. But we're going to try our review style. So episode 2. First off, I really like that they kind of picked up right where it left off. I like when shows do that. I feel like it's almost like a little reward for watching the first episode. A lot of shows don't do that. A lot of shows are like, doesn't matter if you watch the first one. Here we are. You can catch up. No big deal. I get why you do that, but I personally would prefer give me credit for watching the first episode. Don't just, hey, here you are, episode 2, go for it. It's just not like it makes you feel like there's no reason to watch episode 1. Whereas I would rather feel a little reward for watching episode 1 and episode 2 and episode, like, I like when they build off of each other. It flows better to me. So yeah, we pick up pretty much right where that one left off. He's talking on the phone with the guy, buried alive. Why? Why is he buried alive? Your guess is as good as mine at this point. I don't know. Buried alive. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Not great. Buried alive. Not a lot is said. Basically, the weird part is he tells him, you have to find me because you're the reason I'm down here. That's really weird. At this point, we don't know why. What the heck? I don't know. We're going to figure it out, hopefully. Very strange. He tells him to look for a waterfall. So that's like a hint for later. And that they drove past muddy waters. So those are like little hints that he gets before, of course, his phone dies. And he's like, great, I don't... Oh! So, again, we don't know a lot, but that's what we get set up with, I guess. That's a good setup for where we're going to go with this episode. They're really good at getting your interest because, yeah, now I'm like hooked again. I want to know. I'm watching this whole episode, because I want to know, are they going to get him or are they going to find him? And at that point, you don't know, but you're going to watch the episode. They introduce us to a couple new characters. Detective Lackland, I think is how you say his name. He's very, very strange, like this show. Peculiar, odd, kooky, all of it to a T. I like him, though. But so like the show itself. What is going on? Because, yeah, one of the, like, right when they introduce him, I think I've turned it into a recap already, but I'm going to try not to. They introduce him, he's in like a meeting with some new recruits, I think, basically, because he's like a detective inspector, so he's high up rank, and he's in the middle of lecturing them, and I felt like the show screws with us a little bit, because like one of the first things he tells them is, the first thing you need to know is you know nothing. That's what the show is, pretty much. We know nothing. So I thought that was kind of funny. I feel like that's a little nod at the fact that we know nothing. But so he's giving this lecture, talking to the new recruits and everything. He looks at his watch. He's like, oh, I got to go. And you're like, okay, that's really weird. In the middle of the lecture, he bounces out of the lecture, calls his wife. This show, man, I'm telling you. And it's not an important phone call. It doesn't seem like he's talking about dinner, what they can cook, how you doing, normal everyday stuff. What? You leave your important meeting at work just to be like, hey, honey, enchiladas tonight? Yeah, let's do it. Sounds good. See you tonight. It's just straight. I don't know. We got to see what happens. He goes to the bathroom. Again, weird stuff the show does, because is it going to pay off in the end? I don't know yet. They show him go to the bathroom, and like he acts like a normal guy would. Goes to the bathroom, unzips his pants, but pulls out like a syringe, and like syringes it, pushes the plunger. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Pulls the plunger thing down, and that's how he goes to the bathroom. My first thought is trans. I don't know if that's dumb, but that was my first thought. I brought it up to my wife. She said maybe like he's had like something go wrong with him, and it's almost like that's how he lets out his like colostomy bag. He releases it through the syringe. So that's probably more accurate than the trans thing, because I don't quite know why or how that would. I don't know. But those are my two guesses, I guess. And I feel like it leads more towards my wife's guess, because also later in the episode, he excuses himself to go call his wife and everything, and then he throws up. So I think there's something wrong with him. I think he's sick. Don't know why exactly. We're going to find out, hopefully. Again, I hope, if not, I'm going to be really let down. I hope all these pieces are going to connect and it adds to the story, because if not, it's just really, really peculiar, strange oddness. He meets up with this young guy that I like too. His character, Sergeant Lemon. He keeps calling him Lemon, but he says Lemon. He seems like a fun character. He's like a newer recruit police officer, and he's with the local guys, so he's very kind of local, which is fun. And he really wants to impress Lachlan, so he does pretty much whatever Lachlan tells him to, even though sometimes you can tell he's like not quite sure. Like, is this what I should be doing? Is this not what I should be doing? But he goes with it because this guy's lieutenant inspector guy, big hot shot, and he's really excited to work with him. So that's interesting. And so far, that's a really fun dynamic. Both characters are great so far. Really interesting. Again, I hope it all pays off, because they say little things to each other that are just kind of like, is this important? Is this not important? We don't know, but we're going to find out. I think there's a total of 6 episodes. We're going to get through them. We're going to figure this show out. I'm telling you. Hopefully. But we'll see. So yeah, he goes and talks to, after he gets the phone call, the mystery man, because Lachlan, they sort of leave that to where he's heading to where the explosion and the mystery man is, because that's where his cop. I'm not exactly sure. They sort of allude to it being that it's his cops calling him, telling him to go to the case, but then it's almost ominous, like it's a phone call from somebody else, because they don't really. He just picks up his phone, Lachlan. And they're like, oh yeah, you don't hear the side, but he's like, yeah, where the hell's that? Okay, I'm on my way. So you're not 100% on that. Again, we'll find out hopefully. But it's interesting for sure, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, the guy can't remember his memory. He gets back, sort of trying to figure out the mystery. Lucy's really helpful, but she's again, is she on his side? Is she not on his side? Is she playing him? Is he playing her? Mystery. Lucy's the waitress from earlier. She's still working with him a lot at this point, because she's who he goes to after he gets off the phone with the guy in the grave, and they're like, help, and they go all over trying to figure out where he is. We're really confused, but we're interested. Oh, the local detective lady, she's back, obviously. And that she's played by Danielle McDonald, I believe is how you say her name, and her character's name is Helen. I would love her. Her character's just neat. Again, kooky, weird, peculiar, but so just neat. Her husband sucks, or fiance, sorry, they're not married yet. I hope it's going to pay off in some way, because I don't understand why he's just rude, mean. Why? He's just really off to her all the time. It's pretty much everything's about him throughout the series. When she tries to talk about stuff, he's like, yeah, but what about this? Oh, our wedding's coming up. Why are you worried about your case? You're not even a good parking ticket officer. You think you can solve a murder? Like, what? Thanks a lot, buddy. Like, it's just not cool. I don't get it. I hope it pays off. Again, weird stuff too. They're on their way to try to find where he thinks the guy buried alive is. They're on their way because they can't get flown there because a storm's coming, which they call a big fuck. Kind of odd, but interesting. They can't get flown there because there's a big storm, the big fuck. So they're driving there and they get caught in this traffic jam, and they're like, what the hell? They get out of the car to go see what's going on, and 2 turtles are getting freaky in the middle of the road. And some guy's out there walking, like, yeah, recording with his phone, like, yeah, nature, what are you going to do, man? These are endangered. I can't help but love it. It's so strange, weird, but you're just like, yes, keep going. I'm in. Let's see. I'll watch these turtles for a half hour. What do you got? Like, it's just, something about it just works. I'm telling you. If you haven't watched episode 1, I feel like start with 1, but you can start on 2, and it's interesting, peculiar, fun, odd. You got to know what's going on. The lady cop investigates a little bit more too, and she finds that Billy guy, which we found out that's his name, the ominous guy I talked about from the first episode. That sort of, my mother did this, my mother did that. We find out his name's Billy. She goes and talks to him because she's like, a nurse tells her somebody tried to come and talk to her, amnesia guy, and I had to tell him he wasn't here anymore, etc., etc. And she's like, that's kind of weird. Why do you... Helen, she's like, why? What? So she goes and talks to him after figuring out where he is through CCTV footage and whatnot. Again, very ominous. I was worried about her life because they show a scene too where he kills somebody earlier. Again, this is a review, not a recap, so I'm not gonna go through all the scene. But yeah, so they talk to each other. Really ominous. I was very worried that he was gonna murder her because he did not like that she was investigating, because she's actually, despite what her fiance thinks, a pretty good cop, because she's like, hey, why'd you go try to talk to him? He's like, oh, anybody who survives an accident like that, I just want to meet the guy. That's like, wow, he survived a crazy car crash. She's like, okay, yeah, and I want to make sure he survived. She's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but why'd you ask where he went when the nurse told you he wasn't there? Like, he survived. They told you that. Why do you need to know where he went? And he's like, oh, like he comes up with an excuse, but you're just like, she got you. She's smarter than you think she is. And he actually calls somebody, again, they don't quite tell us, but he calls somebody and is like, I need more info on Helen. I think it's Helen Chambers. I don't remember the last name for sure, but I think that's right. So I'm a little still worried about her, but at least so far she's okay. But her fiance sucks. Pow, right in the face. A really weird analogy comes up between Lucy and Amnesia Man. They're like driving and he's like, why are you helping me? Again, just peculiarness. I hope it comes in together. If not, I'm going to be super bummed. But they're driving along and he's like, why are you helping me? She's like, the egg, potato, or coffee bean. He's like, what? She goes, yeah, my dad used to tell this story. Or not a story, but tell me this thing about you're either an egg, a potato, or a coffee bean. And then he'd show me on the stove. He'd heat up a pan of water, drop the potato in, pull it out, and cut it. It got soft. It's cut apart. It's separated. It's done. Egg, pretty much same thing. The shell comes off. You can cut it. It's malleable. Coffee bean dissolves. So it's like goes with the flow basically. Whereas the other things don't. They do their own thing kind of. And she says she's the coffee bean, and you're just like, that's neat, but why? I'm loving it. Very, very just cuckoo, but you're like, yes, I'll take 12 more of those. Anybody sign me up, waiter? Because it's interesting. This is all I guess I could say personally. Yeah, very, very interesting. Your brain ticks, because you're like, is that going to come back around? Is like, I don't know. We'll see. We're going to keep with it for sure. Again, too, I want to point out, just because it messes with my brain, the Billy guy, ominous guy that Helen talks to, towards the end of their conversation, my mother was a police officer. Fine work you do. Fine work. What? Why does he do that? What's his thing with telling everybody? Like, obviously, did your mom have every job in the world, dude? Like, did you have a lot of moms? I doubt it. But, like, is it just like a way he's trying to connect with people? We don't know yet. I bet it's just a way he's trying to connect with people. He thinks that'll sort of put him at ease. Like, oh, okay, yeah, your mom, that's cool. I'm a cop too. Your mom was a cop. Let's be buddies. I think that's what he's kind of, but it's weird because literally everybody he meets so far, pretty much. I want to say everybody he's met so far. Whatever their job is that they're doing for him, he's like, oh yeah, same. My mom did that. What? I don't know. Amnesia guy actually calls her out on the story. That was interesting. He calls her out, says, I don't believe that's really a story your family told you. You made, like, I've heard that before almost. and she confronts her on it, and she's like, okay, you're right, I lied, I made it up, I just like it better as saying my family told me rather than just saying I heard this analogy once. Lucy, we're gonna watch her, okay? Write it down, note it, put it in your phone, whatever. Lucy, sus. She's on my suspect list. Lucy, I ain't be trusting her. She talks about leaving a guy and moving on to after like that confrontation about the analogy. That's kind of interesting because is she talking about him? Because she said it was hard, but that she got away from him. Makes me wonder, but I don't. We'll see. I'm gonna again put a pin in it, write it down. Maybe I'm like a genius and this is all gonna be dead on, and I should be a Detective Lackland. But I really don't know. But I'm having fun with it. Oh, they show us the guy in the buried alive, and they show that he's got a little tube leading out of the ground so he can breathe. So they didn't want him to die. Interesting fact. A scorpion goes in there though. You hear him scream. Back to a different scenario. I think we go back to Amnesia Man and Lucy in the car heading towards him. But you're like, F and A. But the storm hits, of course. The big fuck. And they end up getting back in their truck, hiding under or they get out of the truck, hide under the bed with a little sheet over it until the storm passes. They get out, realize they've been going the wrong way because of the storm. They're nowhere near the guy. So they go back to the helicopter guys and demand to get flown out. He's like, sure, finally. Well, after they kind of fight with him a little bit, but they end up taking him out. They find the guy dead. I find that interesting because I feel like a lot of U.S. shows wouldn't do that. This is an Australian show. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that, but there you go. I feel like that's really interesting because, yeah, I feel like a lot of our shows he'd be alive at least for a little bit to say like, your name is such and such. But in this one, nope, it's just he's dead. Sorry about your luck. That's very peculiar, and we're trying to figure that out. Amnesia Man takes his phone. That's kind of, we could see what happens there. He wants to get a charger for it. Doesn't have one yet, but that could end up being big. So again, put a pin in it. We'll see what happens. Write it down. Because yeah, it feels like that could end up being something. Currently, it's not because it's dead. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be something there. Helen, interesting scene. She talks with her fiance at one point about Bloody Mary and whether he knows what that means. And weird discussion again. He's a dick. He tells her, "Oh, you'd never say that because you're not brave enough, more or less." And they get in a little bit of a fight because he finds out she's been lying to him and investigating this case when she's been supposed to be doing other stuff. And so she's looking in the mirror, kind of crying and whatnot, and she says Bloody Mary 3 times, and you're like, ooh, again, I hope she doesn't die. But we're going to have to wait and see. I really hope she doesn't, but yeah, we're going to have to wait and see, guys. Tune in. Keep going. I'm hooked. As they're heading back after they find out that the guy's dead and they get his phone and whatnot, they're heading back to the helicopter so they can leave. They're sort of going back and forth on whether to call the cops or not, too, because they're like, what do we even tell them? We don't know shit. But they're on their way back, and Amnesia Man, I gotta come up with a better name for him. We get a name this episode. I'll tell you soon. He notices clipboard that Lucy signed for them to, like, their waiver to fly in the helicopter. And I like to, again, American versus other countries, the way they do movies, TV shows. They weren't like overly like zoom in, here you go. But you see him look down at this like little clipboard, and he looks up, and you can see he's had a revelation or whatever, and it's because her signature. He's like, oh shoot, that's the same font, handwriting as the letter I found in my pocket that said I needed to meet them at this place in episode 1. What? She's lying to me. So they fly back home. He confronts her. He's like, hey, you're full of crap. What's going on? You're lying to me. I saw your signature on there. I know it's the same. What is it? Like, Lucy's a liar. We don't... She actually doesn't lie about it. That kind of caught me off guard. I thought for sure she would. She's like, yep, you caught me. I know who you are. Are you sure you want to know who you are? Here we go. And he's like, yeah, of course I do. What do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, are you sure? He's like, you know what, F this, I'm going to the cops. And she's like, are you sure you want to do that, Elliot? So Elliot, real name, screwing with him, probably real name. But we don't know yet. He's like, he stops because he's like, oh, is that my name? She's like, yeah. He goes, but again, he's kind of like, you know what? No, you're still screwing with me. I'm going to the cops. So she goes, okay, but, well, I don't remember exactly how she says it, but basically she's like, okay, go for it, but I'll have to tell him about the man you killed. And you see him like, like kind of pause, you know, like, shoot, what the hell do I do? And so he sort of stands there for a second. Then finally he starts walking away. And she's like, where are you going? And he's like, I need a beer. And she's like, I could agree to that. And they walk off, credits. And you're just like, we're still totally lost. It's really well done, I feel like. You just can't turn away. You want to know the mystery. You want to know who he is, why he is more or less being targeted. Like, does he know something? Did he do something? Well, I'm pretty sure he did something at this point, but we don't know why or who or what else. And then the quirkiness of like the dialogue and stuff, you just can't stop. You're like, this, like I said, I hope it pays off, because if it doesn't, then I'm probably gonna be pretty disappointed. But as it sits right now, yeah, it's building and building, and I'm just like, I gotta know where it goes from here. Very much. Like I said, I think current favorites are probably Helen. She's just a really interesting character, and the dynamic with her and her husband, or fiance, I keep calling him husband, is off, but you want to know more still. You want to know if it's going to work out, if it's not going to work out. Why are they mean to each other? Well, she's not really ever mean to him, but she's probably my number one. Lemon, probably a strong number two at this point. Lachlan is I wouldn't say a favorite character, but you really want to know what's going on with him. And then really, it's kind of funny that the main people were probably my least. I want to know what's up with Amnesia Man, but his character, in my opinion, like, at least right now. But that's partly because we don't know that much about him. Maybe he's really cool, but right now I don't know. Lucy, not trusting her at all. The Billy guy, actually, I really like him. I know he's a bad guy. I should probably not supposed to like him, but he's just ominous, weird, peculiar. I can't look away. I got to know more about him too. I really hope we get more about his character. I'm not sure we will, because I feel like he's very much playing that, like, almost what's the word I'm looking for? Like a cleaner. Like, he gets called into, okay, I want all this gone. Take care of it. He feels like that kind of character. Yeah. So that's my review, not recap. That's why a little bit shorter. I still went pretty hard, but on all the details, because I don't know, it's just that kind of show, I feel like. But if you like this kind better, let me know in the comments or whatnot, and I'll shoot for this kind for episode 3. I'm gonna try to be faster with that one as well. I know this was a long wait for 2. Just life happens. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot. If you enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you do on YouTube, and I'll be back for episode 3. And 4 and 5 and finale 6. We'll see what happens. Thanks. Bye.